So as you can see here, this thing cranks a bit faster now. So something I've done here is we got a new battery. I replaced the positive battery cable going down to the starter here. This is the old one, and it is just shot. It's all insulation's cracking. This is junk. It's all cracked. You can see the wire exposed and it's all corroded. Things just coming apart. Should also note too that I added a second ground wire here because the original one, and new battery clamps too, but the original one just goes over here to the firewall, and this one is another one I added that just goes straight over here and bolts onto the block, back side of the block there. So we got her free. All this crap down here, if you can see, that blew out of that last cylinder. So once we got that out, it's turning over. So we're gonna put some spark plugs in this. I got a used cap and rotor. These are the spark plugs here I got to put in it. They are used. We grabbed a bunch of stuff at the junkyard, spark plugs and everything, because I knew came out of the same engine, they'll work in this one, and I don't really want to spend a whole lot of money on this thing if it's junk. Again, we just want to try and make this thing run, see if it's worth fixing. I got the breaker points out, the old ones. We grabbed some while we're there, but the ones here don't fit, so those need to come back out. So we're going to try and clean these up and see what we got. I got to figure out the firing order on this so I can put the plugs and wires back on. And here we go. These are some plugs we pulled out of another bus there at the junkyard. I don't think that thing was running too well. Alright, we're going to check the gap on these spark plugs before we put them in. I looked up on the inner screen. It's supposed to take 35 thousandths. Run that on up. Looks like it's about 32, 33. Give it a little more of a bend. That's a little bit more, but that's alright. Close enough. It's also a good idea too to use a special spark plug socket. It's got rubber insulator in there. Help you not quite break spark plugs as easily. Break off the porcelain. And it'll grab onto them when you're pulling them out and hold it in there when you're putting it in. I think we got her all hooked up now. I've got two plugs I can't get in. That back cylinder must be messed up or something. We need to run thread chaser or something on it. This water pump fan is locked up, so I had to take off the belt. But a little prime for a good time. Whoops, that was a bunch. Probably should have a fire extinguisher handy. I don't know if this puppy will stay here. Let's get a tripod. You'll notice in the next shots that the distributor cap is moving around. It's the Medusa looking thing towards the top left that has all the blue wires connected to it. I didn't notice this right away as I couldn't see this from the driver's seat, and it only moves when you're trying to start it. Even though I'll have two dead cylinders because of the missing spark plugs, I wanted to see if it would fire anyway. That was a little bit of fire there. This rattle linkage came off. Day 2. It's gotten real. Yesterday, ran into some problems. I got the distributor cap all put back on, cleaned up the points, got those put in, then put the cap on. Looked up on the inner screen what the firing order was, and got the plug wires all in the right place, I hope. But I ran into problems getting plugs, and the spark plugs are down here, hooked up to these wires here. I ran into problems getting the plug in this last hole. So, when we look at it right now, you're probably not going to be able to see in the camera, but it looks like the hole's real rusty, and every time I go to put that spark plug in there, and I've messed up the threads on several of them. Like this one, threads on the end are messed up. Focus. John, focus. Anyway, so, we got a tap here to chase the threads, hopefully clean those up and get a spark plug in that back hole, because I've messed up enough sockets, or I'm sorry, enough plugs, and I had to go buy some new ones. I spent money, so we're going to try putting that in there and see if that'll fix our problem. This is the inner fender, by the way. Outer fender, inner fender, battery. Alright, we got our firing order instructions from the inner screen. We've got 2 plugs in the back. I just got to find which wire is which. And let's see here, we got, oh, this one's 8 right here. I can tell from looking at it. I know a thing or two. There's 6 pickup sticks. Not the band either. Oh, we got a little tear in the insulation there. Hopefully it'll be alright. Okay. And there's 8. Trying to get that wire. Okay, it was on. I didn't think it was. I didn't think it clipped on all the way. Definitely is in too far. Oh, there we go. There, that went on that time. Going up. Alright, a little prime for a good time. Or a lot of prime, I guess. The distributor cap is still moving around. And no, it's not supposed to do that. Wants to go. Alright, now I got a can of start, you bastard, right here. I'm going to put some of that in here. I ended up rigging up a starter wire so I didn't have to go back and forth to the driver's seat. And that's when I noticed that the distributor cap was moving around. This is causing several cylinders not to get spark. Alright, a lot of prime for a good time. That's when I decided to replace the cap and rotor with new parts. I don't think it had the right rotor anyway. I'm going to try this again now. Some new parts. Alright, there's our new breaker points. Good, pull this rotor off. Those wires first. These 345s used several different distributors. You could have a Holley, Delco, or Petronix distributor. This one is a Holley, and they do not interchange. Alright. Okay. Don't drop the screw. This one uses the curved points. The wrong ones I got from the junkyard are the straight points. And drop the other screw. Alright, these breaker points can come out. I did already change that condenser that's on there. Here's the difference between the two. Maybe we'll clean up that rotor a little bit. Alright, let's turn this over a little bit. Alright, let's try that. Alright, it says to lubricate these breaker points. The lube that I had, it came in a little tube. Apparently is blown away, so I'm going to try some Silly Glide on here. Probably do the trick. Set that there where it goes. Alright. Don't drop the screw. This magnetic stuff's pretty good. Get that snug. Well, not snug, but enough that it ain't going to come loose. That's what I need. Alright. Got the wire on. Get that on there snug. Oh, that's pretty close. Let's see if we can twist it just a little more. You want to get it to its widest point. I think that's it right there. I looked up on the inner screen and it said 0.014 to 0.018, and I'm going to put in 0.018 because somebody said 0.019 worked real good for them. Loosen you up. Loosen you up. It's not just supposed to move this out. There. That's what we need. This is called setting the dwell, or the gap of the breaker points. Tighten that down. Tighten that down. Alright, so we got a little gap in there now. There's our 0.018 inches. Perfect. Give it a try. Fit that down. Make sure that fits into place. Well, that fits on there a lot more snug than that old one did. And then zap down the clip. This one too. Alright, let's start with this one. Goes right there. Alright, well, let's see if we can get her to start. A little prime for a good time. Whoops, that's a lot of prime. Maybe we should have a fire extinguisher handy. Alright, hopefully there's no wasps in here. Try some of this to start, you b****. Well, that's good. We got some fire going on. It's popping, but not going. Okay, so what we're doing now is this thing's still not quite wanting to fire. So I'm going to try and increase the compression. Here's one way we're going to do that. Get a little bit of oil here. I'm going to jam that down into the cylinder. The oil is going to take up some of the space if their space rings are worn or whatever. And that might help us increase our compression a little bit. And I'm checking the gap on these because the gap on this one is way too small. It was like bottom of the gap gauge. Just 20 thousandths, and these are supposed to be at 35. So I hope we don't have crap in the cylinders or the pistons hitting their spark plugs. Internationals are just cold-blooded. Just cold-blooded. Let's try that on for a sec. Well, I'm glad you made it this far. I've tried to edit it down. Had about almost an hour's worth of raw footage, and that equates to just over 3 hours of editing. At this point, not really sure where to go. It's got fuel, it's got spark, it's popping. It just doesn't quite seem to have enough to get it running. So maybe at this point, probably the next thing to do would be to check the compression. I'm sure it's going to be low because the cylinders might be rusted up from not having spark plugs in it, sitting so long that way. Might be a good idea to check ignition timing too. I'm assuming that it was parked when it was running and that the timing hasn't been messed with since then, but that's something we can check too, so stay tuned.